Welcome to the Honest Psychologist podcast, where two licensed clinical psychologists have joined the chat. I'm Dr. Whitney Graff.
I'm Dr. Paige Hover. We bring our years of expertise to the conversations you're already having, breaking down the topics shaping culture, social media, and everyday life.
No psychobabble, just relatable discussions about how our minds work and why it matters. Okay, we're back.
Hello,
Hello.
Dr. Graff.
Hi, Dr. Hover. How's it going?
It's going. It's a little warmer than I would like for this time
It is
of year.
unseasonably warm, and I am grumpy about it.
I'm not. I want to apple pick. I want to go to the pumpkin farm.
Yeah.
Not when it's 89 degrees out. It's not 89, but it's 85, and it's too warm.
It's way too warm. I have been at not this year, but in previous years, I've been at an apple orchard wearing a flannel shirt when it's 80 degrees, and it's just a miserable experience. Stop dressing in costume, obviously.
Yeah. The yellow jackets are fiendish at that point because it's hot and everything's sticky. And it's like, no, summer, leave. So, all right, now that we're done.
Ready for some cooler temps. Yeah. All right, so you have a topic for us today.
Yes. Dopamine scrolling, doom scrolling, learning a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I like the way scrolling now has become an activity and we all know what it means. Yeah. Like, oh, what are you doing? I'm scrolling. Yeah. Doesn't really matter what you're scrolling on. And if you say that to me, I completely understand. Like,
it's an adjective.
It's
verb.
It's a verb. It's a verb. It's an activity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what's interesting is like, I think there's sort of a universality to attributing sort of low grade misery to I'm scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
Am I projecting there? I know it does for me, but I feel like in the discourse now we've started to refer to this as sort of something that's kind of dysphoric, or sort of like, yeah, I'm scrolling, of course I don't feel good.
Yeah, and that's what I think is kind of interesting about the topic, and where the idea of dopamine scrolling kind of piqued my interest to learn a little bit more about it, because I think the term doom scrolling has been around for a while. I think most people understand that there is some kind of negative effect to scrolling and notice like, ooh, I don't feel good after scrolling.
Yeah. I mean, okay, if anybody is not in this common parlance, you know, when I say scrolling, I mean like you're on a social media site that has an endless feed. P.S. Discovered recently, you can totes do this on LinkedIn. Oh. I've never used LinkedIn much. I always
LinkedIn always makes me feel terrible.
Well, I had no idea the amount of activity that was going on LinkedIn. But yeah, so you're on some sort of a site, whether it be LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or I suppose Facebook. And you're just on your personal feed. And so when you reach the bottom of the posts that have loaded, it will load more sort of endlessly. And when it runs out of the ones that you follow, it'll start suggesting new ones so that your thumb just scrolls on the screen, scroll down so that you're always just encountering more content. And so you're in this sort of, and you sort of like focus in on it and you kind of lose track of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So we joke. Do you remember the old Friends episode when they go to London and Joey, of course, you know, can't read a map and find his way around and whatever. And they go and they're standing outside of like Big Ben or something. And he lays the map down on the ground and stands on top of it in order to figure out which way he goes. And then later he tells a story and he goes, so I'm in my map. And, you know, I think he met Fergie or whatever. So now my husband and I joke like, so I'm in my, you know, so in this case, I'm in my phone. I was in my phone and I was scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my question for you. I thought doom scrolling meant that you were specifically doing content in your phone that had to do with like why the world is coming to an end.
So there's various kinds of thoughts on that I was researching. And so, yes, I think that's one version where you get kind of stuck on a loop of like, oh, this is terrible and I can't stop. I think there's also kind of what I took away from what I was reading is that, like, if you took a look at social media, Instagram, for instance, like, and you end up scrolling through on like a news article that is about Gaza, right? Something that feels terrible. When you keep scrolling, if you just keep going, sometimes it'll continue to populate stuff around that topic,
Right.
but sometimes it's just random. Or like if you are just somebody that scrolls through somebody's stories, like you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe you're going to land on something about the news. Maybe you're going to land on something that feels awful. Then maybe you're going to be in the same person's story. Like the next one will talk about puppies and kittens. So I think sometimes the idea of doom scrolling is like you don't have control per se of like what content you're going to run into, but maybe your algorithm is more focused on negative stuff.
Yeah.
Or you find like a rabbit hole and go down that thread. Like you find a Reddit thread and you keep going down that same rabbit hole, and that's doom scrolling, which I think is why the concept of like dopamine scrolling is starting to get some more attention, or people starting to look at that a little bit differently, because I think the term doom scrolling is broader than what everybody is experiencing when they're scrolling. Does that make sense?
Everything except that very last part.
That dopamine or that doom scrolling, at least I understand it as like when I hear people say they're scrolling, I assume they mean they're doom scrolling, or kind of stuff like that, that like more maybe colloquially or cultural reference of like, oh, I'm scrolling is assuming that it's like doom scrolling.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So these words they're generally meaning something similar, but people might use them slightly differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you a scroller? I'm a bit of a scroller. I think less maybe than the average person.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to like control my social media scrolling and be more mindful of that. And I think for me to understand how to be more mindful of that, I want to be a little bit more aware of the process. And so I've stumbled upon a couple of different videos or little snippets that are shifting it to think about dopamine and how, like, take social media for example, Instagram, you get pretty quick hits, right? They can be a photo that you see for 10 seconds. It could be a reel you watch for 2.5 minutes, but usually things are like under 5 minutes, pretty quick hits. And you can just keep scrolling through that. So when I started looking at dopamine and kind of how people are talking about it, is like that kind of scrolling is giving you those quick hits of dopamine. Each video is a different hit of dopamine. And there's all sorts of different videos you can have out there. So maybe I click on a video because I want to see a cute puppy. And wow, I'd like to see a little bit more about that because I got the quick hit of dopamine, but it doesn't last very long. And then I'm off looking to the next one. So I flip to go for the next one. And I hope it's something funny or cute. And I keep doing that.
So if we define a little bit more, when we say a quick hit of dopamine, what is dopamine?
Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel good.
Yeah, my understanding is it's like feel good. You mean like reward, like it feels like a reward. And I understand it's related to drive and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it makes us seek more
Mm-hmm.
of the thing that it was kind of connected to. Like the thing that made it release in our mind, we become more driven to go get more of that.
Yeah, I think it's different than serotonin in that drive and reward. Like serotonin's more of like a boost versus like dopamine is maybe more with drive.
Yeah, I think of serotonin as being much subtler.
Sure.
Sort of background sense of like feeling okay, whereas dopamine more acute or more concentrated, like moments of like, that felt good.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so dopamine has a lot to do with drug addiction,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, other substances.
Mm-hmm. Internet addiction, any kind of addiction, I think is.
So addiction is related to dopamine, but we also do get dopamine when we're not addicted to anything, right?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
We're not all running around addicted to everything.
Yeah, and dopamine it's a normal part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a neurotransmitter. We all have them.
And we should have some dopamine, like that we're encountering. That's a silly thing to say. We should have, dopamine working as part of our brain process. Like dopamine is part of a normal brain.
Yes.
Like I'm working on a craft project right now. And when I open up like my supplies for it and stuff, I do get a little tiny feeling of like, yay.
Yes.
That's dopamine.
Yes. Yep.
So dopamine in and of itself, not a bad thing.
No.
It's not like we don't want to not have dopamine.
Right. Just like we don't want to not have serotonin or any other neurotransmitter that we have.
Right. If anything, have I told you this, that I have this theory that I am like a little less like, I don't know if it's a quantity or a frequency. I just don't feel like I am a super dopamine sort of driven kind of person, in the sense that I feel like I don't seek a lot of novelty necessarily.
But you are very driven. When you put your mind to something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't have a lot of I don't run high on excitement, I think.
Sure. You're a realist.
I'm pretty grounded.
You are
I
very,
feel like I'm sort of, I'm a little bit low key in terms of, I'm never extremely pumped for anything.
Well, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm going to jump really high, but I'm not going to jump too high. And it's not because you're scared. It's just I just don't really, what am I going to see up there? What am I going to see that I'm not going to see down here? It's okay to jump, but I'm not going to be super thrilled to spend all my time up there.
I just have this theory about myself because, I do have a little bit of a sweet tooth, but if I decide I'm not going to have dessert for the next month, I don't find it that difficult. Something I just adjust and I just go, oh, okay. And then I'm sort of good. And I think this makes me a little bit strange. Anyways, this is my theory. When we're talking these days more and more and more about dopamine and its role in kind of just the different activities of our daily lives. I think it's an interesting question, and we're still discovering some things about it.
Yeah.
But I think if listeners know nothing about it going into this, dopamine, is this fair to say, dopamine is involved anytime that you are feeling a sense of reward or a sense of drive and motivation?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to actually quick Google dopamine. Dopamine associated with pleasure, reward, serotonin involved in mood stabilization, sleep, appetite, social behavior, dysregulation, low dopamine associated with depression, low serotonin linked to depression, high dopamine can contribute to addiction, high serotonin can lead to obsessive compulsive or social withdrawal. All right, I think we're getting down a rabbit hole. But those are our thoughts on the neurotransmitters. But I think what's easier for me is to just talk a little bit about the video that I saw that got me to start thinking. Would it be helpful if I just played it in the microphone?
Yeah, give it a shot.
So in my own scrolling, I came across a video that made me start thinking about dopamine's role in my scrolling, and if I could be more aware of that, would it help me control it differently or be more aware, because it talks about the different parts. Now this video is Jonathan Haidt. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
He's talking with Michelle Obama. It's a quick clip, and I think they're talking about several different things. So when you hear the video, they're talking about friends that they don't go into in that clip. So just be mindful that there's some pieces that he starts talking about that isn't in the clip that I'm sure is in the longer interview that he does with Michelle Obama.
The table. Dopamine, friends, and stories. Let's keep those three things in mind. So dopamine is this really important neurotransmitter. It's a chemical in the brain that's related to reward and motivation. When something feels good, the dopamine comes out, and that feels great, but it's not like, that feels great, you're done. It's, that feels great, let's do it again. That feels good, let's do it again. And we've all seen this with kids, again. And so you want your kids to have slow dopamine. You want your kids to struggle at something, work at something, they train to do a layup, and then they do it, and then they get the dopamine. That is great. What the tech companies did is they figured out a way to hack the system. They figured out, hey, let's give the kids some dopamine without having them do anything. Just swipe or touch or whatever. No skills learned. So quick dopamine is really bad for your kids. You want to keep them away from quick dopamine. Now, like with junk food, if you let them play video games for an hour a week, that's totally fine. But when your kids are playing video games or other dopamine quick things like that, 2 or 3 hours a day, now you're changing their brains. The dopamine circuits are responding, getting less sensitive to dopamine, so they need more. And I know this is relevant to your listener because she said that the daughter gets moody when you take it away.
Sounds like an addict.
Exactly. It is, because dopamine is the exact neurotransmitter that is involved in all addictions. And when you take the drug away, you feel terrible. And then you just need the drug back to feel normal. So that's the bad news. That's the bad news to your listener, is that in a sense your kid is an addict. But here's the good news. Just as the brain adapts after a week or two, it adapts and gets addicted, you go cold turkey, it just takes a week or two for the brain to get back to normal.
So he talked about a couple of other things in there, but more my response was this idea of dopamine, the addiction process, being less sensitive, and how I see that in my own scrolling. I've noticed that something like my attention span gets shorter. Now I want even shorter videos before I move on to the next one. I find myself, if I'm scrolling late into the night and realize I need to go to bed, and I tell myself just one more. When I started to really think about what am I looking for, I'm looking for that like, oh, well, that's a good video to end on. It feels good. And I can find myself just continuing to scroll and scroll and scroll, looking for that kind of good note to end on.
Yes, I really relate to that.
There's other pieces to that, but I'll put a pin in them.
Yeah. We have another joke in my household that like, oh, didn't you say you were going to bed? And the other person says something like, oh, yeah, just as soon as I get done with the internet, I just got to read the internet and then I'll be done.
I love the book memes on Instagram and TikTok that will say like, hey, you got on here to read your book. Like you came into your bedroom to read your book. Put the phone down. Go read your book.
Boy. No, and I like the way you characterize this sort of like itch almost to get to that like perfect end note that just feels right to be like, okay, now I can stop. It's so interesting, the idea that these videos, I think it's especially videos. I think that's how Instagram used to be pictures. Now it's videos. Somehow the videos give us a different little dopamine kick. It's probably evolutionary. Like we probably are, quicker to respond to the idea of like a moving human or a moving like animal, that there's something where we're kind of wired to be interested in live things. That makes complete sense. But yeah, like that feeling like I just got to keep going, because I just got to kind of ride this wave and I don't quite want it to end.
I find that I will turn to scrolling when I want to either zone out or if I'm looking to like feel good. Like more recently, I've been noticing if I'm anxious, I just want to be distracted from my anxious thoughts. And I have tried to curate my algorithm to mostly be like puppies, cooking, comedy, but I can't control that when I'm scrolling, especially on my feed where I don't know what I'm going to get for the next one. And I find myself like getting lost in that because it's like, well, that didn't make me feel 100% better, or I still feel anxious. So one more video, but they're so quick that like I can easily just move on to the next. And I have so much access to so much content that it's just like you can just like, nope, I don't like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. Nope, I don't like that one. And then 40 minutes go by and I still don't feel good. And maybe I stumbled upon stuff that made me feel worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I mean, one of the weird thoughts that's coming to my mind is how, like on my Instagram, I have it set so that it doesn't give me any suggested things. It's only stuff I follow.
Oh, that's smart.
I do like it. I will say it will give me these little interludes where it's like, here's kind of a horizontal bar of, potential reels that you could add. So they're not within the feed. They're like cordoned off. But those are the ones where it is feeding me these ones that feel a little bit addictive. But what's funny, this is why I think it's a weird thought, is like I will click on the ones where they're decorating a cake. And I just want to see that cake get decorated. I can see that they're going to start with something interesting, like a weird color or a weird pattern. And I'm like, ooh, I want to see the final product. And I don't know why that is like teensy tiny bit addictive. But there's something sort of satisfying. And yet you're saying we're chronically unsatisfied. It's donuts for dinner. Makes you feel full at the time, but then you're hungry 5 minutes later.
Yes.
So it's like you're getting this influx of something, but that's not sticking with you.
Right.
It's probably what Jonathan Haidt is saying there about a quick dopamine versus sort of an earned or slow dopamine.
Yep. And I don't know if it was that same interview or another snippet, but he came up across my feed again where he was talking about how stories are really important with the content that we consume because stories take time to tell. There is some kind of like maybe a lesson in that, or there's kind of a rise and a fall. There's a beginning and an end. But he was talking about it more in like time, that especially he was talking about it with like how much screen time should my kids have or something like that. And he's like, well, it's not necessarily the time, it's the kind of content that they're exposed to. Like, sitting down, if we think about back when we were kids, we didn't have social media. We had shows, right, that were 20, 30 minutes, but there was a whole arc. You had to sit through commercials. You had to spend a fair amount of time with that, versus now, if you look at Instagram or YouTube or any of that, you can find stuff that's 30 seconds, 5 minutes. I mean, even 5 minutes these days feels like forever. If I stumble across a reel that's 5 minutes, I'm like, no, give me it in 10 seconds. But if you go back to stories, there's a lot more benefit to a story than it is this quick, tiny little hits, because he said that, so there was the piece about a story and the length of time, but also you're kind of committed to like, this is my activity, rather than spending 30 minutes hunting for the best content that you can find in those 30 minutes. Because if you do that latter piece, half the time you're not even really enjoying the content you're taking in. You're more so thinking about, is this the best thing I could be seeing right now? And is, should I be hunting for something better? When you and I were talking about this earlier, we were talking about almost like being exposed to a buffet where you can have anything you want on this buffet, taking a bite of whatever it is that you're taking, knowing that you can have anything you want. Of course, you're going to spend at least some of that bite thinking about, is this the best bite I could possibly be having right now with my time?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly right. What you were talking about, that kind of like weird, dissatisfaction of like, I just got to keep going until I find the right thing. And I know you don't mean that in kind of like a conscious sense. Like, you wouldn't actually argue for that. Like, yeah. You just stay on until you find the correct thing. You're
right.
Like, no. This is like a motivation kind of running in the background. But I think it's exactly that. I think whenever you're seeing, your mind is not really on it. It's on the next one. What could come next? And is this thing that I've got right now, is this good enough?
Yep.
Is this what I was hoping for?
Yep.
And, we're not even, we haven't even broached the topic of how that content is being created.
Yes.
And so if someone's reels leave you unsatisfied, that's kind of perfect, because then you might click the next one, or you might, stay on their feed and let the next one populate for you. And so, yeah, this idea that you're never fully present with a thing that, I mean, ostensibly this is supposed to be for entertainment or for relaxation, but I don't think we're being entertained, and I don't think we're relaxing, because we are in this state of sort of running towards something that we'll never arrive at. So when I scroll, I end up feeling exhausted. I do have that brain rot that we all talk about, where I feel fried. I feel inattentive. I set something down. I have no idea where I set it down. Too much scrolling, and I just become this space cadet where I can't think of why I walked into a room. I open a tab on my browser. I can't remember why I opened the tab. I opened Google. I can't remember why I opened Google. And I'm just this like scattered cognitive mess.
Yes.
And I think it's this idea that I'm not paying attention to the thing I was hoping would entertain me, watching someone decorate a beautiful cake. And all I'm really thinking about is like, is this good? What about the next one? Is it what I thought it would be? I'm not, and it isn't long enough to allow me to relax.
No. I think that's where we'll spend a lot of time on social media, or spend a lot of time scrolling, because we don't realize, wait, we're chasing that satisfaction.
Yes.
And then it's like, wait a second, then it's an hour that has passed, or a half an hour that has passed, or something like that, where it's like, oh, that's why I was staying up for 30 minutes longer than I felt than I needed to, because I was chasing this reward that I didn't get.
It's exactly that. It's chasing something that you don't get. You're always still hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that it's hard too with the content that's out there. Like, we don't always have 100% control over what we're going to get, So like, we don't know what this is going to be. Is it going to be something that makes us feel good? I find, for me, I am a stories scroller on Instagram, so I have no idea what the next thing is going to be. I'm just clicking through, and sometimes it's terrible, awful things, and then sometimes it's great, and I have no control over that, and I find myself having to walk away from that, because that makes me feel even worse.
Oh, I mean, think about that emotional whiplash that is happening to you.
Oh, it's
you could see a
terrible.
Puppy followed by, war.
Yes.
I mean, my God. And then, even a reasonable person would be like, wow, but shouldn't I feel bad about seeing human suffering in the world?
Yeah.
But you don't even have time to think about it or absorb it. You're not really being with that. Nor could you ever fully appreciate if your feed was giving you nothing but human suffering around the world. I don't know that we are even equipped to make sense of that level of, misery. And so that also probably wouldn't work either. Yeah, you and I were saying before we hit record, I do think I heard the rest of that Jonathan Haidt interview, because I remember the part about the stories.
Yeah.
And I really took that to heart, in our household. And that, I think that, because we love Jonathan Haidt. And Jonathan, anytime you want to come on our podcast, you are welcome anytime.
Putting it out there for the universe.
Just manifesting. But having sort of his permission to let my 4-year-old like watch a certain type of TV, because, you know, another person who's welcome to come on the pod anytime is Emily Oster, the economist. Love her. She talks about how screen time, how we should really be thinking about screen time is in terms of opportunity cost. What could my kid be doing instead of screen time?
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it's kind of like if you're on an international flight, let your kid watch screens basically the whole time because they don't have access to a playground or their friends or whatever. I mean, yeah, they could color or, you know, whatever, but like there's not a lot else to do and your priority is on like surviving that flight. So in terms of like with kids, okay, are they watching screens instead of doing something that would be more beneficial to their development?
Sure.
Should they be doing play, free play, social play, you know, responsibilities around the house or whatever? And if they are going to be on screens, then I look to Jonathan Haidt, who's saying the things they're consuming should have sort of a narrative value. He talked about how humans have always told stories.
Yes.
We tell stories around a campfire.
Yep.
Stories fascinate us. They teach us. They make us think. You know, they're part of being human. And so if my daughter is going to be watching a screen, now my criteria, now that I've, you know, been exposed to this, I'm like, this needs to be a story. It needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. There needs to be some sort of conflict that gets resolved by the characters in some kind of way.
Yep.
And there is plenty of, you know, children's programming out there that has great stories. And I truly have no problem with her watching some Paw Patrol. But I am now fully drawing the line at any, like, we are not doing any YouTube stuff where there's like, it's just some adult taking toys out of a box and holding them up to the camera, or it's just some like she found her way to this random animated thing where these animal shapes followed along a maze until they got to the end, and then they went into a box and they came out of the box a different animal. And I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm tripping out watching this. What is this?
It reminds me so much. Our comfort show is New Girl, and we had it on the other day in the episode where everybody in the loft gets sick and watches some random YouTube show.
Yeah,
but the only way you can enjoy it is if you're like running a high fever because everybody else is looking at it being like, what is this?
Yeah, and then once they're not sick, aren't they sort of like, what were we watching?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I walk in the room and I'm like, how did you find this? Turn this off. I'm having trouble explaining to a 4-year-old this criteria that I have, and explaining to her that these smart TVs, or, you know, she does not have a tablet, but we will use a tablet on like road trips or that sort of thing, where like the tablet is not neutral. You know, the content is not neutral.
Right.
And it's my job as a parent to, you know, to be aware that, you know, it's 2025 and there's a lot of this like kind of dopamine hijacking happening all around us. It's not easy to figure out.
No.
As a parent, I have felt like I have no idea what I'm doing with this, but I'm trying to piece together some of these expert opinions and what I know about psychology and how we as humans can thrive. So I'm trying really hard, you know, to interrupt this cycle for her.
Well, even like we were talking about another piece of like the exposure to like this vast just like array that like YouTube is this just like ocean of content. And like we were talking about a video that was kind of highlighting what kids can be exposed to when they have a tablet or when they have YouTube without parental like guidance or whatever, of, you know, like it's kind of satirical.
Like a public service, and it was like a commercial.
It was like a commercial where there's a kid in bed and he has his tablet, and he's older. He's probably like 10 or so, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 10.
But the dad comes in and he's like, okay, buddy, you know, about 15 more minutes of scrolling and then you got to go to bed. But, over there's a bunch of, you know, stuff that I actually don't want you to see. And I can't remember what was the first one. But
I think it was porn. I think the first one was,
I can't
there's
remember.
a lot of adult content here.
Yeah, and highlighting and like, oh, hey, there's a hacker over there that's posing as a child and don't give your information, and just like kind of laughing it off, but also helping people see like when your kid is just able to have access to this vast ocean of content, like there's so much out there that like it's kind of crazy to just like expect that they wouldn't fall into that, or you know, that they could be able to control that. And I know we're talking mostly about kids here, but I also think about adults, and especially us as millennials, being the generation that didn't grow up with technology but now has access to this technology. Like there is so much. Like, obviously, it's important to talk about with kids and shaping, you know, their developing brains, but this all has an impact on adult brains as well. And I think it's kind of wild for us as adults to think about that because we didn't grow up exposed to this. So it's kind of new to us. And I think sometimes, even as an adult, I think I'm like, well, I didn't grow up with that. I had, you know, a wholesome childhood playing in the dirt and all this other stuff. I'm kind of protected from this whole, you know, doom scrolling or, you know, being exposed to all this content, but I'm not. No. You know, I still find myself feeling too anxious or, you know, kind of everything we've talked about with kids. I'm trying to apply that to myself. Like, I've tried to stick more to reading because there is a slow dopamine with that. I have to read a whole chapter to get to the end. You know, like I have to take time to read that and get to the story. And even then, I have to purposely put my phone away. Otherwise, I am prone to just looking at my phone for that quick little dopamine hit. I'm in the middle of a slow dopamine hit reading, and I'm like, I'm not consciously thinking of this, but I definitely think unconsciously. I go, this isn't quick enough. What's going on? What's going on? I'll start scrolling Instagram, and then it's like, wait, Paige, you were in here to read your book. Read your book.
Yeah. Okay, I'm listening to this, and I think one or both of us should do a cleanse.
Oh, see? Did you see that? I was like, oh, no.
I know. I feel it too, actually. I was thinking about saying it, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't say it. I'll volunteer myself.
I'll do it with you.
You want to do it with me? Like, I don't know. I think that we have to commit, like, maybe a month.
Okay, but what's the cleanse? Are we like,
I don't know,
cold turkeying it?
Yeah, we might. I think we might have to cold turkey anything with an endless scroll.
Oh, I don't know if I can.
Okay.
See, isn't that hilarious? I don't think I can commit to that.
Well, I think that's fair. I don't know if I can commit to it. I am making use of my LinkedIn right now. It's partly like for messaging and communication.
Yeah.
And I mostly have eliminated, like I haven't been doing professional Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
And that has actually felt great.
Facebook is
I do feel more disconnected, I will say. It's been a little bit hard professionally because that was where I saw what my colleagues were talking about, and I had forums where I could ask questions or get guidance or give guidance, whatever. So
that's why I'm struggling with the idea of like letting go of Instagram for a month, because I'm starting to use that more professionally too.
Well, and I think
marketing and stuff.
I think that's fair. I mean, this is sort of the world we live in. So you can think it over. I think that I will. I think that I'll eliminate Instagram for a month.
Oh, that's bold, friend. I don't know if I can do that.
I don't know if I can do it either, but I'm willing to do a little experiment and sort of report back, because so I never had a TikTok.
I don't have TikTok either.
I don't have TikTok. I think you and I got a little, we're not the hugest fans of TikTok based on what Mental Health Talk tells our clients.
Although it bleeds into Instagram and it's all the same thing, but
yeah, I know. And I tell myself that my Instagram is fine because it's mostly cake decorating, but
well, what if we committed to something? Like, one thing I've been trying to do is trying to stay off of social media for the first like hour and last hour of the day, like as I'm winding down. And I'm embarrassed to say that like that's a struggle.
Hey,
but
I mean,
it's enough of a challenge. Actually, wait, maybe it's the last hour of the day, but the first half hour of the day, I tried to do no phone period for the first half hour of the day, which like sometimes I can do, but like sometimes I like have to run out and I'm like, well, what's the weather? And I guess I could just walk outside and feel it. But
Well, no, but it's easier to know what it is before you get dressed instead of walking outside in your underwear.
exactly.
Yeah, with my schedule, that's not as big of a vulnerability just because I am awoken from a dead sleep by a 4-year-old who needs help getting dressed and brushing her teeth. So that is how I spend the first half
That's
hour
true.
of my day.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is that she likes me to keep her company on the couch while she watches Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
I find this very, very boring, and I will scroll while she watches Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to say I'm not getting her a phone until, I'm going to wait as long as I can. I'm hoping for 8th or 9th grade.
I agree. It's going to be a struggle, but I support you.
Thank you. How am I going to do that when I am scrolling?
Yeah.
It's one thing if I'm using my phone to send emails.
Mm-hmm.
I run 2 small businesses.
Yeah.
You know, I need to connect with people to run my businesses.
Yep.
But Instagram for me is not defensible. I don't use it for business. I don't feel better for having used it. So that's it. I'm committed.
Okay.
1 month from today, Instagram is going off of my phone.
Okay.
I'm going to miss Emily Oster's Wednesday. She does Q&A.
Is there another way you can find her content that's not Instagram?
No, I think it's Instagram because it's like it's in the stories. And so
Oh,
there'll
yeah.
be like 30 stories on a Wednesday
Yeah.
where people just write in like, you know, the most common one. Do you want to know what the most common one
I want to know,
is?
yeah.
Can I get Botox while breastfeeding?
Oh, really?
She's to the point where she's like, I'm not answering this anymore. There's a post you can access that will answer this question. I answer it every single week. Doesn't matter how many times I answer it. Somebody says, can I get Botox while breastfeeding? And but if I'm being honest, a lot of the stories don't apply to me because I'm not pregnant. I'm not trying to conceive.
Yeah.
I don't have a baby.
Yeah.
I have a preschooler. So a lot of the like baby content is no longer relevant. I just kind of like hanging out with Emily Oster every Wednesday. But I think I can give it up. So there we go. We're doing it. I'll tell you how it goes and how it feels. I don't know if I'll learn anything interesting.
I'm sure you will.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe you'll realize that it wasn't that big of a part of your life.
I mean, even just talking it out right now, I'm like, why do I watch those stories? I don't have a little baby. I'm not breastfeeding and I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can commit to go back to the hour at the end of the day.
What is it? The last hour is prohibited?
Yeah, that's... Maybe I need to put a timestamp on it from like...
What time do you go to bed?
Like 10. Okay. So maybe like after 9 p.m., no Instagram.
Okay.
No Instagram and no Instagram before the half hour.
First half hour of the day.
First half hour of the day.
Okay.
I can do that.
All right.
We'll report back.
Okay.
So
did we confuse the hell out of everybody about what dopamine is?
I don't know. That's what I was just going back to because I had another article pulled up. So we had the...
Oh yeah, give us your other source.
We had the social media stuff. And so I started looking at the difference, just started understanding it. And I came across the term dopamine scrolling, and I tried to understand, is that different from doom scrolling? There was an article, it's out of the UK, the Institute of Psychology, Business and Human Sciences, University of, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher this, Chichester in the UK.
How do you spell it?
Chichester.
Oh my.
Chichester.
I have no idea.
But the article is titled, and I'll put this in the show notes, Dopamine Scrolling, a Modern Public Health Challenge Requiring Urgent Attention. And so I was looking at it because I was curious of like, oh, well, as we kind of talked about all of this and knowing this other content that I've consumed, that's made me question, when I'm scrolling, am I actually doom scrolling? Am I stuck in a loop of bad content that I can't get myself out of? Or is it more of this dopamine scrolling, where I'm looking for this quick hit. And that's kind of what the article talks about, is that yes, that maybe this is more powerful than the idea of doom scrolling because we are looking to kind of feel good. I think there's a lot, we're exposed to a lot of negative stuff, so I think we are looking for that equal and opposite reaction. So if anybody wants to check it out, they were talking about some quotes from the article of dopamine scrolling. This behavior differs fundamentally from other forms of digital engagement, characterized by active seeking of entertaining content, rapid platform switching, and significant time investment. Research indicates that over 1 billion people spend an average of 3 hours scrolling through social media in 2020, with some countries showing self-reported averages exceeding 4 hours a day.
Wow. And yet I can see how it would happen.
It clarifies, unlike doom scrolling, which focuses on negative content, dopamine scrolling seemingly operates through reward mechanisms and variable reinforcement schedules, making it unique and potentially habit-forming. The neurobiological basis involves small doses of dopamine released with each scrolling motion, coupled with variable reward schedules, which can lead to tolerance development. Which I think is I think what this piqued my interest too is about just seeing the rise in people questioning if they have ADHD and seeing how this shapes. This article talks a little bit about dopamine and tolerance and things like that, but also the idea of attention spans being short. Has social media really shaped how our attention spans are and how we think about any kind of concerns about having attention deficits?
Yeah, I agree. So I'm just going to translate that a little bit. I liked the way it framed. Can you read the part about the short bursts or something?
The neurobiological basis involves small doses of dopamine released with each scrolling motion, coupled with variable reward schedules, which can lead to tolerance development.
Right. Yeah. So I think we get the idea of little bits released every time you do this motion of, you scroll with your thumb and you see with your eyes. But then variable reward scheduling. So you can think
intermittent reinforcement.
Yeah, variable reinforcement is basically a slot machine. Mm-hmm. So think about the difference between a slot machine and a vending machine. Both of them, you put money in and you press a button, where a vending machine, every time you put in the money and you press the button, you expect it to give you the reward, can of Coke. And if it didn't, if you had a vending machine at work and you gave it your $1 or whatever, and it didn't dispense a Coke, you would stop using it because it has a standard reward or reinforcement schedule. There should be a 1-to-1. I put in $1, I get a Coke. A slot machine, by contrast, is built on this variable reinforcement. So you never know when the reward is going to come out. So you put in your $1, you bet, you get nothing. You put in $1, you bet, you get nothing. You do it some random number of times, ding, 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 you get a reward.
And you don't know what the reward is going to be.
You don't know what the reward is, and you don't know when it's coming. And so no one's ever gotten addicted to a broken vending machine, whereas people will get, I think we could say addicted. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of contested, but I mean, gambling addiction's in the DSM now. So, the idea that you would sit at a slot machine all day, it's because a reward can come out at any point and it could be any amount and you never know. And so it's very, very addictive. It's part of that dopamine system where it keeps you coming back, coming back, coming back.
Yep. For sure. For sure.
Okay. Yeah, that article sounds fantastic. So we'll link to that. I love the way they explained that.
Yep. And it talks a little bit about some ways to address that, kind of this idea of we need to assess scrolling behavior more accurately, and then implementing some features that could promote mindful engagement. I've seen people starting to talk a little bit about that actually on social media, that it's not necessarily about the amount, but it's about the quality, and how we want more mindful engagement with these kind of platforms, or people maybe are craving more mindful engagement rather than this mindless. I think we're starting to get wise to the fact of like, this feels a little mindless, or I'm not really getting anything out of this kind of thing. So I'd love to see what that would be, but I think we got to understand it and then know what's happening to then implement some strategies to manage it.
Yeah, I love the idea that more mindful, entertainment would take off. I mean,
It's tough.
if anything, like if that started to take off more and people started to get more skeptical about how all this stuff is affecting us, then in the sort of context of, our lives, it would be like, wow, we really went through something weird there. Social media got invented, smartphones got invented, and we all went through this strange adjustment as a species to this new thing that was unlike anything our species had really had to contend with in the past. And then we kind of figured out what that was doing. Now, do I have faith that we're going to have sort of a change in cultural attitudes towards this? I don't know. I mean, even you and I are afraid to commit to giving it up, but
right. Yeah.
at some
it's
point,
so part of it.
at some point we'll look back on sort of the late 2000s and the 2010s as being this like really strange time of technological advancement and change. And
I mean, yeah, you and I talk about it all the time about like how social media and technology has shaped psychology and how like we think about ourselves, how we practice. It's a wild thing that I don't think we've even scratched the surface of understanding, let alone managing.
agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Did we do it?
I think so.
Okay. Well, tune in next time, rate and review. Thank you for listening. And we'll see
Do
you
you want to
next
give
time.
a teaser quick of...
Oh, yeah. Next time I want to talk about personality change. There's this new book. It's called Me But Better by Olga Khazan. She's a staff writer for The Atlantic, and this book is just delightful. Just the ways that she looks at her own personality, and she shares her own kind of tendencies and stories. And I just think she did such a lovely job of opening up and letting us get to know her through this book. But as a psychologist, fascinating.
Ooh.
Personality is an area of psychology that has always kind of gripped me, and just seeing her kind of fresh take on it after, I've been in the field all these years, but hearing her look at personality and can you change your personality? I want to talk more about what this book is about, what it says, how it matches with my experience as a psychologist, all of that.
Sounds good. Tune in next time.
Tune in next time. Thanks. This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for treatment of any kind.